Dune 3 will reportedly start filming 1 year sooner than expected. Now, this is an interesting headline from Screen Rant. I guess because some people haven't been keeping up or are in tune as much with the development process of Dune Messiah, because the rumors and speculation about Dune 3 has been that the Warner Brothers date that they are holding for a, quote, Denis Villeneuve event film in December of 2026, that was rumored pretty heavily to be Dune Messiah. I never thought that they were actually going to film in 2026. That definitely would have been way too little time, I think, in regards to getting the production underway and out for release by the end of the year, even if they'd started in January of that year. But I think a lot of people were already going off of what Denis Villeneuve had previously said numerous times, that he wanted to take a break after Dune Part 2 to possibly do any number of the other numerous projects he's connected with, to take a break and then return to Arrakis to fulfill his dream of adapting Dune Messiah. People were speculating that if he were to do another film in between, maybe the earliest time that Dune Messiah could get out would be around 2027. So I think that was the previous speculation. And now we're hearing from some source that he's looking to film in June of this year. So this is 1 year earlier than expected. So when I saw this headline, it was a bit trippy because it seemed very confusing as to what we already knew as far as the rumors and speculation. So this actually seems to confirm that release date window of December 2026 is indeed for Dune Messiah, which makes sense because when you think of a Denis Villeneuve event film, even when you look at all the other projects he's connected with, the one that just made the most sense was Dune 3, Dune Messiah, that could be termed an event film. Denis was very coy about it at some sort of Q&A event recently where people were asking about how's the progress going on that. And he seemed very coy and tight-lipped that he couldn't say very much. I think there was a legendary CEO or something with him, so there's only so much he could say, but it did seem like that it was going to be sooner than expected. And he himself has been stating, oh, well, I thought that I would need a break, but I feel that responsibility to finish that story, to finish what I started. And this is the fulfillment of his dream, which was also to tell this story, bring this story to the big screen of Dune Messiah. So everything seems to align with previous rumors and speculation. And now we have this rumored filming start date. Screen Rant is covering the previous news that initially Dune Part 3 was expected, or Dune 3, not really Part 3, was expected to begin in summer of 2026. And that was before, I think, when they were going off of what Denis Villeneuve initially said about taking that break. But now he wants to just go full steam ahead. The reports are now that he's planning to roll the cameras in June of this year, 2025. First of all, that seems to be right on point with his pattern of filming when it comes to this specific franchise, because Dune Part 1 started filming in 2019 and they filmed from March to July of 2019. And the initial target release was December 2020. And Dune Part 2, that filmed in 2022 from July to December. And initially the release date window was November 2023. So this seems right in line with that initial pattern of filming to theatrical release window. Now, obviously, both Dune Part 1 and 2 experienced delays in their actual releases that were out of the studios and the director's control, but that was the initial plan. So this seems right in line with that. If they start filming in June and there's a 4 to 5 month for principal photography for filming, and that gives plenty of time then for all of the next year to do post-production and possibly to give even a little wiggle room there to do any possible pickup shots or reshoots like they usually do. And Denis Villeneuve usually plans for that. I think that will work out perfectly to strive for that December 2026 release date. Screen Rant goes on to say that summer of 2026 was never a realistic window for shooting to begin on Dune 3, if indeed he intended to have the movie finished in time to release on December 18th, 2026. That never seemed realistic for him to shoot that same year. Even if you started at the beginning of the year, it definitely would have been way too short of a time. So shooting kicking off in June of this year makes that release date a more achievable goal given the lengthy post-production and editing process involved on a film of this scale. They do already have all of the infrastructure in place. And that's probably another reason why Villeneuve wanted to just go straight into Dune Messiah. He's got all of his team that he's worked with several years for each film, and it makes the most sense practically and creatively for Denis to stay in that creative headspace and still have that production team that's in line with how he likes to work and have all of the pieces in place. And also for the studio, you want to capitalize on the hype, especially for such a niche franchise. Yeah, it just makes the most sense, commercially and creatively. The article continues, Villeneuve himself recently speculated to Deadline that Dune 3 would shoot starting in 2026, but also indicated that work was moving swiftly and he might go back behind the camera faster than I think. The director also cautioned that these movies take a lot of time to be made, so it's best not to say out loud when I might shoot. Villeneuve spoke to of not wanting to rush the process, so it can be assumed he's not fast-tracking Dune 3 at the studio's urging, but is ready to go in his own mind. I'm sure that Warner Brothers and Legendary were just chomping at the bit for more entries into this franchise. But yeah, Villeneuve wouldn't have moved forward if he didn't feel like he was in a good place creatively. I mean, he would say that he's still working on the script, and people were looking at that December 2026 release date as well. Can he make it? I don't know. And I always thought it's best to think there was probably a fluid situation when it came to that release date. And who knows, if this film isn't delayed, I would be surprised. We have not had a good track record when it comes to any release of a Dune film. But as far as the screenwriting goes, if he wasn't ready, if he didn't think it was where he wanted it to be, then they would probably have shifted around that release date. But it sounds like everything's right on track and running smoothly. Screen Rant goes on to say, our take on Dune, Part 3 filming sooner than expected. Warner Brothers may wish to strike while the iron is hot. Dune Part 1, came out amid COVID. It delayed the film several times. It posted a less than impressive worldwide box office as a result, with $407 million. Actually, I think it was very impressive considering its unusual release strategy. It was a staggered release overseas, and once it was released domestically, it was also released on HBO Max streaming simultaneously. So it's very impressive considering that very unusual release strategy for it to have even made that much money at the box office. So Dune Part 2 did very well, grossed $714 million worldwide, a March release after the writers and actors strike delayed it. It could have made more, honestly. I really wish that they could renegotiate something with Warner Brothers and its distribution, because it released 6 weeks after its theatrical premiere to digital on demand. That stuff definitely takes a hit to your box office. So I think it could have had Oppenheimer numbers, ideally, if you'd have let it run all of spring and let it have its time. To just cut it off so quickly with streaming, I think it did hamper it. Also hampered it as far as its pop culture influence and impact. I don't know if they've renegotiated, because initially it was just for the first two movies. They didn't even confirm Part 2 officially until Part 1 came out and they realized it had potential commercial success. I don't know if they're going to renegotiate some of those deals, but hopefully that also will encompass some renegotiation as far as the distribution in the physical formats on DVD and Blu-ray, because we need the IMAX aspect ratio of these films. So hopefully they'll get on that, because that definitely needs to change. It is a tragedy that we cannot see the original IMAX ratio of a movie that was filmed entirely with IMAX cameras. It's crazy how much that we're missing on home video. Legendary and Warner Brothers, they definitely did want to continue to have an experience that rivaled Dune Part 2. At least a Legendary CEO said that if Villeneuve can promise an experience similar to what we've just gotten, which was Dune Part 2, and the script is good, all of the creative partners were on board, it was just basically whether Denis Villeneuve was in that good place creatively for it. So they were eager for it. I definitely see reason when it comes to striking while the iron is hot. Getting Dune Part 3 into production as speedily as possible may satisfy the studio's desire for haste. However, as Villeneuve himself has proclaimed, the creative process on something like Dune shouldn't be rushed. Getting the trilogy capper into theaters fast and having the film be underwhelming as a result of an accelerated production schedule would be a very undesirable outcome. Villeneuve likely wishes to take his time on Dune 3, but that might not be in the cards as the studio looks to strike while the iron is hot. If this latest report is correct, Dune Part 3 production is indeed moving faster than expected, putting the epic continuation of Paul Atreides' saga on track to reach theaters by Christmas 2026. It doesn't seem rushed. Maybe it may seem that way, but he's been thinking about this for quite a while. He was talking about Dune Messiah, or his dream of making it, all the way back in 2019 when he was starting to talk about Dune Part 1 and doing press for that. So this has always been his dream to continue to tell that story and that specific story and continuing Paul Atreides' journey. So it doesn't seem rushed in that aspect. He's always wanted to do this, and it seems like he may have been tinkering with it as much as he could during like any off time that he had with the other two Dune films. I still think that he would have enough time to tighten up the script before June. Starting to film in June, 4 to 5 months for filming, and definitely plenty of time for post-production. And even when he had to do reshoots, it didn't take very long. They were mostly just those little fixes that usually big-scale productions build into their schedules. So he probably has that in mind as well. So everything seems to be moving along smoothly, which is great news given the franchise's troubled history with scheduling. And considering the chaos surrounding the development of the Dune Prophecy TV series, it is a reminder not to take well-run productions for granted. That said, Villeneuve wasn't involved with that show, and he's known for running a tight ship, a highly efficient operation, which is why his budgets are considered quite low for the scope and scale of these films. So for now, fans of Villeneuve's Dune can take this as a strong sign of confidence from everyone involved and their readiness across the board to continue Frank Herbert's epic saga with Dune Messiah. But I'm curious to know how you feel about Denis Villeneuve's upcoming adaptation of Dune Messiah. Are there any particular moments or characters from the book you're most looking forward to seeing? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Dune and other sci-fi and fantasy news, theories, and lore. And if you're looking for other ways to show your appreciation, you can check out my Patreon page, where members get access to exclusive content and perks. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.